Everybody loves trains. Stop, look, and listen as we go upstairs in the collector's attic in this world-class railroad museum to see one of the coolest public displays of toy trains and to explore the 20th century history and evolution of model railroading. The world of miniature, model, and toy trains has evolved from wooden push and pull toys to metal wind-up toys to electric diesels, to trains that ran on wooden tracks, before exploding online into a virtual train world. The golden age of railroading was a powerful force in shaping kids, big kids, and families. Now let's go back in time to the late 1800s, where our story of railroading evolution begins. During the late 1800s, model railroading was led by German companies like Bing and Marklin, whose engineering ability outdid the U.S. manufacturers in creating durable yet very eye-pleasing details. These manufacturers also pioneered the concept of empire building, where an entire rail system in miniature could be displayed. They produced magnificent tunnels, stations, street lamps, signals, bridges. At the turn of the century, Lionel, a U.S. company, became a dominant player in the toy industry. They were capable of producing durable as well as realistically attractive trains. They understood the importance of model railroading accessories and how it could build ongoing loyalty. They capitalized on modern marketing techniques with promotions and advertising. Perhaps the key reason Lionel became dominant in the American model railroading market is that its founder recognized the potential of electricity to transform the toy field and model railroading. In the late 1930s, Louis Marks Toy Company continued to make inexpensive wind-up toys like this New York Central Mercury locomotive. American Flyer and Lionel had their electric version. In 1935, Lionel had a breakthrough with the first operating whistle on a toy train. It was common at this time to have what they call O scale. We'll get to that in just a minute. Over the last century, there have been many different sizes or scales of trains. Over the first half of the 20th century, the primary size or scale was called O and S. This graphic shows the relative size of each of the scales. In the second half of the century, smaller became more popular. In the 1950s and 60s, HO was the most popular of all the railroad scales. HO is half the size of the O scale. In the 1950s, an electric train was a central part of childhood. In the 1950s and 60s, this HO grade Santa Fe Super Chief was a symbol of railroading at the time. It ran from Los Angeles to Chicago, so they called it the Train of the Stars. Coupling of cars was pretty easy on these HO grades. You could see this coupler snaps together. In the 1950s and 60s, inexpensive plastic made railroad town building a boom business. Plus, with the HO scale, it was easy to make your own accessories. There were even train sets small enough to fit inside a briefcase. The popularity of trains and model railroading had a resurgence in the 1980s with the introduction of Thomas and Friends, a TV series. The very popular children's TV series ran for 3 decades. The series followed the adventures of Thomas the Blue Tank Engine along with his other engine friends, and Sir Topham Hatt, the train controller. Thomas and Friends came in different scales. One of the brilliant aspects is they had these train tracks and accessories that could be easily assembled and then, when playtime was over, disassembled. There were also battery-operated locomotives that ran on the Brio line. Matchbox and Hot Wheels were the perfect size as accessories for the trains.
We just toured the model railroading section of the California State Railroad Museum. One of the exhibits is sponsored by the National Model Railroad Association. If you're interested in the history of railroading in America, see the link to my other video which shows the other parts of this museum.